fact that a deal has been reached because 8 Democrats joining Republicans to advance a federal funding measure which the White House has endorsed in exchange for a possible future vote on extending enhanced affordable care subsidies, which Mike Johnson says he's not guaranteeing. There's no guarantees here. This is why this is a bad deal for Democrats. This is why it's a bad deal for the country. And my question to these 8 cowards, that's what they are. Never support, whether it's Tim Kaine we're talking about, whether it's Catherine Cortez Masto or Jackie Rosen, these are Fetterman. These are not good Democrats. They're bad for the country, and they caved, and they are absolute cowards. One of those cowards is Senator Angus King. I want you to listen to this pathetic excuse that he made, claiming that he was standing up to Donald Trump. What use was it if 40 days later you cave? Have a listen to this.
Well, Joe, you have to go back to what the strategy was at the beginning of the shutdown. There were 2 goals, both of which I support. One was standing up to Donald Trump. The other was getting some resolution on the ACA premium tax credit issue. The problem was the shutdown wasn't accomplishing either goals, and there was practically, well, there was 0 likelihood that it was going to. In terms of standing up to Donald Trump, the shutdown actually gave him more power, Exhibit A being what he's done with SNAP and SNAP benefits across the country. Oh, by the way, Joe, you're going to love this. Guess who's getting paid during the shutdown? Not the park rangers or air traffic controllers, the ICE agents. Under special law, under that big, awful bill that they passed last summer, the ICE agents are being paid. Nobody else is. So standing up to Donald Trump didn't work. It actually gave him more power.
No, it didn't. By the way, I'm going to call you Anus King from now on. You're no longer Angus King. You're Anus King. You are an anus is what you are. You stood up to Donald Trump. What are you talking about? You stood up to Donald Trump. For the last 40 days, people haven't been able to receive their paychecks that work for the government. What the hell was the reason why you did that? You should have voted this way 40 days ago. You frickin' Democrat coward, you. That's what you are. You're a coward. And you should be voted out of office, Anus King. You jackass. Remember this guy Kaine, who ran for vice president with Hillary Clinton? This guy, Tim Kaine. Listen to why he thinks just getting a vote on health care is a win. This pathetic buffoon. Listen to this pathetic buffoon Democrat.
Senator Kaine, it's Ali Vitale. I hear you on the wins that you notched on SNAP, on RIFs. Those, of course, were administration pain points over the course of the last 40-some-odd days. But on the issue of health care, again, you have a lot of colleagues, and I know you've heard from them privately as well, who are concerned that there's not enough being done tangibly on health care. You talk about the floor fight, but the idea that a guaranteed vote isn't a guaranteed outcome, I think, is really sticking in a lot of people's minds. So how do you talk with your colleagues, and do you understand their point of view that say, we did have a big win on Tuesday, we held out for 40 days, what did we get here?
I completely understand their point, and I would go back to them. Do you think the R's are going to give on the ACA a week from now after more SNAP recipients get hurt and more people can't travel to visit? Do you think it'll, in 2 weeks, do you think they'll give? Do you think they'll give in a month? There was no credible argument that, yeah, we think they're going to give. And we were having this fight as the volume was getting turned up about SNAP and about air traffic chaos and about tariffs and about everything else. Now we get to have the fight in the full view of the American public, just this issue, Dems v. Rs. We're going to put a proposal on the table that we'll write, that will be maximally designed to help Americans, and that will be attractive to the Rs who are telling us, we know we got to fix this. They'll vote yes, they'll vote no. We're the minority party, but everybody will get to see who is standing for them when it comes to lowering their health care costs.
You stupid Democrat buffoon, you. That's what you are. Mike Johnson will get to this. He said it himself that there's no guarantee that Democrats will get a vote on the ACA subsidies. You stupid buffoon. You did nothing except cave to the Republicans. You imbecile, you. Shaheen is another one. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing her name right. I don't care. Shaheen the coward. Here's her excuse on national television earlier today, talking about how this was the right agreement, this was the right thing to do. Another Democrat coward who caved. Listen to her pathetic excuse.
This is an opportunity for us to continue to fight on extending the premium tax credits and the cost of health care and making sure that Americans know who's on their side and who's opposed. And I introduced a bill to extend the premium tax credits. That's my legislation. I did that in the very beginning. Introduced the 2 extensions. That was my first legislation this year, and I intend to continue to fight for that. And hopefully the Republicans may hear us. But all those people who opposed this agreement, staying in a shutdown mode was not getting us anywhere. And they need to train their fire on the people who are responsible. That's President Donald Trump, it's Speaker Johnson, and it's the Republicans who have blocked every attempt to get health care. We need to be working together. That's what I intend to do.
Tell me how Republicans are working with you, you fool. You're the one that caved. Oh, and it was getting you somewhere, because for a moment, people in this country finally were believing that maybe Democrats have grown a spine, that maybe they're standing their ground for once. Maybe they won't give in to the Republicans. Yes, I get it. It's horrible that for this time, for almost a month and a half, there were federal employees that were not getting paid. That's horrible. But you know what's more horrible? Now you have egg on your face, because Mike Johnson, who just said this morning when was asked, will you assure House Democrats they'll get a vote on ACA subsidies? And he said no. Don't believe me? Listen to this.
He's offered them a vote. You know what they told him in response? No, we need you to guarantee the outcome of that vote. Well, that's ridiculous. That can't be done.
The House is funded from the Senate. Will you assure the House members that they'll get a vote? House Democrats, they'll get a vote on ACA subsidies by a date certain?
No, because we did our job, and I'm not part of the negotiation. The House did its job on September 19th. I'm not promising anybody anything. I'm going to let this process play out. I'll tell you what they wanted. I'll tell you what Schumer and Jeffries wanted. In fact, Chuck Schumer said it publicly and decried that Thune and I would not go in a back room with them and make a four corners agreement on Obamacare subsidies. And I said, there's no way. That it was never possible or appropriate for that to be.
You just heard little tiny Mike Johnson say the truth out loud. They're not working with Democrats. They're not willing to give Democrats a vote. So what did these 8 Democrat buffoons do? I repeat once again, what did you accomplish for the last 40 days by allowing this to happen and standing your ground for 40 days and then caving? You could have voted this way 40 days ago. Instead, you chose to do it now while all these people out there were suffering and Democrats got nothing. The country got nothing. Mike Johnson and Republicans didn't promise you anything, but you caved. This is why there are some people in this country that believe that Democrats and the Democrat Party need new leadership. I don't care if Chuck Schumer voted no. I guarantee you behind closed doors, Chuck Schumer spoke to all these Democrats. He knew exactly what was going to happen. I don't care what Hakeem Jeffries says. The bottom line is your party caved. And when I say your party, I understand that the majority of Democrats voted no. But you have 8 Democrats that voted yes, and that's all that they needed. Chuck Schumer knew this was going to happen. If he tells you otherwise, he's a liar. Chuck Schumer needs to get the hell out of office and retire the way Nancy Pelosi did. With all due respect to Hakeem Jeffries, get out of that position. We need new leadership. Do you think Ocasio-Cortez, if she was leading the Democrat Party, if she was in Chuck Schumer or Hakeem Jeffries' position, do you think Ocasio-Cortez would have allowed this to happen? Would Eric Swalwell have allowed this to happen? Would Jasmine Crockett have allowed this to happen? The answer is no, because they have a backbone, because they have a spine. People in this country want leadership. Part of leadership is not making an excuse and saying, well, we're going to continue to work hard for Americans when it comes to health care. Why didn't you convince these 8 Democrat losers to not back the GOP? Why didn't you tell them, no, you can't do this, you're going to cave? Why didn't you take a page from the Donald Trump playbook and say, if anybody votes yes on this, we are going to make sure you get outed from office? It's the one time I would have taken the Donald Trump approach and say, if anybody votes yes on this, we are going to make sure you do not win re-election. It's the one thing that I would have taken from the Donald Trump playbook. And yes, Democrats should have done that. Democrat leadership should have done that. What the F were you doing for the last 40 days? What was the point of this government shutdown if you caved?